Hello everyone and welcome back to the SteemTrail Gaming podcast. Today is the 26th of March 2018. My name is Kralizec and I will be one of your hosts for this evening. The second host is Tygergamer. Hello Tiger, how are you doing?
Great, how about you?
I'm actually doing pretty well. Didn't have to go do any of my menial work today, so it was all free in games.
Good to hear.
So I think it would be okay if we started with a quick apology that the podcast didn't happen yesterday. We're here today, so I guess no big deal has actually happened.
It's kind of both our faults because I didn't know your daylight savings time changed yesterday.
Yeah, so I was sort of panicking, like, why isn't Tyler answering me? I was like, well, it's almost 9. And then I realized, oh, fuck. It was actually change of time, so he still has an hour, technically.
Yeah, in fact, what I was doing was, I actually, are you familiar with Johnny Clearwater?
Yeah, I am.
I know you are, because okay. He actually asked me to do a Hots or Shots episode with him.
And how was it?
And it was actually pretty fun. The episode won't be coming out for another few months, but hey, I'll say this: I got shots, and if we were to do the podcast yesterday, I would have been hammered.
I can imagine, because as far as I understand, Johnny can stand by his liquor.
Yeah.
But we are here to talk about video games. So let's actually do that. So tell me, did you get to play something interesting?
Well, first off, I got to play Sea of Thieves, which sure it's lacking content, but the real fun is when you're playing with people that you actually can get along with. So,
I can guess that's pretty much the case for most MMORPGs, isn't it? Sort of. You know.
Sort of, but this ain't an MMORPG, so.
You know what I mean. In general, in multiplayer games, it's always better to play with friends. You know, I've actually been watching a series by, do you know Preach Gaming on YouTube?
I've heard of him.
I don't know if you know, but he's doing World of Warcraft videos. And while I don't play World of Warcraft anymore, this was an actually pretty interesting, like a little series of videos that he's currently making. It's about playing as a completely new account and playing without your friends. You know, just essentially playing World of Warcraft solo.
Huh.
And it was completely, because when I played World of Warcraft, I usually had like 4 to 5 friends in real life that played with me on the same server, and then obviously there was the community in the guild, etc., etc. But he's been purposefully avoiding all of that. He was required to do a name change every day, because otherwise people would realize it's him. Because he showed a new video every day, and every day you could see he has a different name. Because once he showed his name in the video, that name has been compromised, and people would realize it's him. But that's really not the issue here. But it shows how limited the gameplay is compared to when you're playing with your friends. And that you just cannot do many of the fun things that are fun with your friends. But they aren't fun with randoms. So
actually, I actually made 3 friends while playing with random people. So.
Well, yeah, he was also talking about the fact that if you're nice, if you're somewhat decent at the game, if you're not just completely broken shit bad, that you can make friends. So, and he also made a few friends. The problem is, I'm going to assume it's not that big of a problem in Sea of Thieves as it is in World of Warcraft, because you know, World of Warcraft is huge.
Yeah.
But in WoW, when you play and you play the solo game, there's almost an established way to play it. And if you don't meet the expectations of... So, for example, you know there's raids in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And if you want to just join a pickup group, the most common way they will check whether you're quote-unquote good enough is by checking what sort of gear you have. And because they are getting like 50 people, you know, answering the almost ads to join their group, they need to make somewhat of a quick decision. They cannot go through each individual item you have and check whether it is fitting your class, etc.
Yeah.
So they go of this thing called eye level. That's essentially the level of the gear. You know, the higher eye level, the better the gear is on average. So you have to have a certain almost threshold of eye level before you get accepted into these raids. And if you don't have it, you're almost shit out of luck, even though you might be far superior to some of the players who have it. As I said, I'm assuming this is probably not the case in Sea of Thieves, just because it's a much smaller and newer game, so these sort of things aren't already engraved in the community.
And also say this too. I've played a few multiplayer games in the past, but actually, I've actually enjoyed this more than I've enjoyed any other multiplayer game. So
that's good to hear. Then I just hope they add more content that is actually good content.
Yeah.
So I myself, well, let's start with this one. So I played the game that is called Enoch Underground. And it's this sort of almost classical RPG, action RPG. And so far, I'm about maybe 2.5 hours in. So obviously not that much in terms of an RPG game. But I'm just not impressed. It's sort of bland. There's essentially only 2 ways to attack. You know, there's the weak and strong attack. You have your potions. And that's all you do, essentially. And I haven't seen that many monsters. The environment seemed somewhat similar all the time. There wasn't any change of environment in the 2 hours I played. And I think what they wanted to do was sort of a action RPG that would feel like Dark Souls. You know, very hard. You need to be very precise with your attacks. That's just not the feel I'm getting from it. I was essentially capable of playing the whole game with one simple tactic. You know, as it's the norm these days, you have a stamina bar that, based on that, you can attack and dodge. So my tactic would be to do one heavy attack, roll back, wait for my stamina to recover, do one heavy attack, roll back, do one, and repeat. And I would kill everything without taking damage. Everything so far. Because the heavy attack, at least when you have a sword, is essentially a leap forward that deals a shit ton of damage. Like, for the weaker mobs, it just one-shots them.
Okay.
But it was all I was doing. I was just kiting the enemies around. The hardest part was to remember which game I went. You know, to remember, okay, now I need to turn left because if I go right, there might be enemies there and flank me from the back. But even then, if that happened, I just rolled a little bit more to avoid those attacks and wait for my stamina to recover and do it a little bit longer. So it was just boring, to be honest. It wasn't bad. It was just painfully boring.
I can see that.
Yeah. So, apart from Sea of Thieves, what else did you get to play?
I've played 8 hours of Kenny 2, which I've actually been really enjoying that too. So.
Okay, so you're going to have to remind me what exactly that was. I know you talked about it, I think, in last week's recommendations, but you know it's Japanese, so I just goes in and goes out.
Yeah, it's a Japanese RPG made by Little Fine Studios, where the animation style is like reminiscent of Studio Ghibli. So I'll say this: like there are deep mechanics in the game, but I'd say for the most part, so far the game has been pretty easy to get through.
And do you think that's good or bad?
I would say if you're like if you're like new to this genre, I would say it's a good thing. But you can also adjust your tactic to make it either harder or easier for you too. So.
And what the level of difficulty were you playing on?
There's no certain level. You had like tweak certain parameters. So.
Oh, okay.
There's no set level. Yeah.
And so, what do you think you're playing on, let's say, the casual mode or the hard mode, you know, in terms of all the sliders? Or are you just playing with the default?
Right now, mainly I'm just playing on default.
And so
honestly,
you can tweak it on like an encounter basis?
Actually, no. In the game, you can actually see where the enemies are. It's not just a random encounter type deal.
Okay.
So.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good thing because choices. I've never seen an option where options are bad.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good game.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yep.
The other game I played is called Evil Cogs. It's actually going to be one of the games I'm going to recommend for next week, as it isn't out yet. It's coming out on 28th March, so that's in 2 days. And it's a little of a indie adventure game. There's not that much mechanically to it. I think I would actually say it is somewhat similar to Flappy Bird. I know that sounds weird, but the game is obviously a port from a mobile game. You can see that by the user interface by just big ass margin. And you're just a little blob of light, and you're just going through this insanely dark, I guess, places. And the point is to get from one end to the other. It could almost be called a platformer, but the thing is, you're flying. But it's not like you're flying, so I can precisely decide where I'm going to fly. You're flying in a similar way of Flappy Bird. You know, you go a little bit up, down, and you need to push the button to keep going up and to the left or to the right. You just don't decide up and down. You decide also left and right. There are a few other mechanics in the game, not that many to be honest, but I mostly, because by the way, I got this one for free. I got it from the developer. It's pretty cool, especially graphically. It looks really atmospheric. It's all about the contrast between darkness and light, and I guess that sort of speaks to me.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking forward to writing a review on it. There are a few things that are somewhat irritating. They kept the gold mechanic in game, which I assume was their monetization model on mobile, but it doesn't work on PC. On PC, you just get shit tons of gold, which you can buy use to buy these little boosts. By the way, you can get the boosts while playing very easily. You just need to collect light. And the boosts are used to either slow time or to make you faster. And that's all there is to it. And you're getting so much of it, you can just blow it away. So why not just remove it, add more light to the levels so you can gather it more quickly? It would seem a bit more easier. But apart from that, it's a neat little game. I forgot to ask the developer how much they are planning to charge for it. But if it's under $5, it's probably worth it. I'm hoping it is under $5. If it's not, I'm going to be pissed. And what was the last game you managed to play this week?
I got to play a little bit of Way Out with my brother. So.
Okay. So how did both of you like it?
We actually have been enjoying it. In fact, after I get done with the podcast, I'm gonna see if he wants to hop back on there again.
Oh, cool.
Look, there's some more. So, but yeah,
I'm
that's
still...
pretty fun.
Yeah. Oh, continue.
Yeah. Actually, it's like even though we're like a few states apart right now, and we're playing it online, it actually reminded me of back when me and him were a lot younger. We used to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater together, PS1. So.
Oh man, I remember Tony Hawk games. I don't know if we talked about it. Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. Did you hear that Tony Hawk said he doesn't want to have any other skater games related to his name? Because they just haven't been good since like ages.
Yeah, true.
But to Way Out, I'm still undecided whether I should get it. It's just... I know there's an online multiplayer component to the game. And that I don't actually even need to have the other person buy it. But I just prefer playing these games in person with somebody. You know, to have the ability to... I just really like to have the ability to slap them if they screw up.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. So far, the story is just pretty much straightforward. There's nothing too complex. I'll say the fun part of A Way Out so far is you and your friend just screwing around.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's the reason why I want to play it, you know, in person with somebody. And my place just isn't really that well set up for playing, you know, co-op games both in front of a computer. The only thing I play like here with somebody is Rocket League with my girlfriend, and that's only because I managed to find a way to put Rocket League into, what is it, 3840 by 1080p resolution. So essentially, it just stretches out. And since I have two monitors, it ends up that one of the part of the split screen is on one monitor and the other part is on the second monitor. So it works out pretty well. And then we can just, you know, adjust the monitors and we can each essentially have our own monitor. But I'm not sure what I would be capable of doing that with The Way Out. It was fairly hard to do with Rocket League, by the way.
Yeah, and considering that each player's screen can increase in size or decrease in size or switch positions.
Yeah, that would only complicate it even more.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got one more game that I played, but I'm unsure whether I should call it a game. It's this thing called The Flood. It's also one of the things I would... this one I'm just recommending. This isn't a thing I'm saying, check it, keep it in mind. This is a thing you should just go and download. When it comes out, which is 30th of March. As it's going to be a completely free-to-play thing. So, no hassle with thinking, is it worth it? It just is worth it. And it's more of an art piece than anything else.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume you're familiar what demos are. And I don't mean demo versions of games. I mean like old school demos that showcased what people can do with graphics.
Yeah.
This reminds me of demos. Not in the way that it has the most amazing graphics that you have ever seen. It's actually fairly like average in terms of graphics. At least like when it comes to photorealisticness, if that is a word. But it's a game about you being somebody who's just on a boat floating through a flooded area. And there's little bit of a text in there. That's essentially the story. I will not spoil it because that's the point of it. That the story is the point of it. But it's cool. This shows a completely different thing than what we can do with games. Obviously, there have been these sort of things that are just essentially a 3D animated short movie. But the thing is, many engines have come to a point where even people who don't have massive knowledge about how to make graphics and they are the best artists can create something using Unity or Unreal Engine fairly simply. And I think this demonstrates it quite well.
Okay.
And it should run on pretty much anything, I think. I'm sure this will run on a cell phone if needed to be. Okay, did you get to play anything else this week?
No, how about you?
Well, I did try out a few things, but they were so shitty they don't deserve to be mentioned. So, let's go into the news section, and we will begin with an article from Polygon. Yay, Polygon. But this was actually a pretty interesting article. It's titled Pro-Union Voices Speak Out at Heated GDC Roundtable. It was published on the 22nd of March, and it's by Allegra Frank. And it's what you might assume. It's about whether the employees within the gaming business should start forming unions. And I'll start with this. I think that might be a decent idea. At least for the bigger studios. For studios that are EA, Blizzard. You know, these sort of things.
Yeah.
That's probably, those studios are probably big enough that they deserve to have unions at this point. The problem is that they aren't just talking about creating unions that are there to bargain with the employers. As most of the stuff they were talking about, so for example, there's an artist called Dietrich Squinkly Squinkifier, which is just an awful name. By the way, you will not be surprised when you open, I don't know, I guess his, because it's Dietrich, blog, that he has, I use they and them pronouns. And let's make fun of them. They are wearing a fedora in the picture that they have there. So no surprise there. It's just cringy as hell. So what he said, she said, they said, I don't fucking know. Unions can help protect the most marginalized game developers. Women, people of color, trans people, queer people, disabled people, non-binary people. Unions can help fight for equal pay regardless of your ability to participate in the process. So, first of all, that's not the point of unions. The unions are there to allow employees to counteract the power the employer has in certain specific situations. In the end, there was a little bit of that statement that is even worse. Listen to it carefully and listen to the end. Unions can help protect the most marginalized game developers, women, people of color, trans people, queer people, disabled people, non-binary people, etc., etc. Unions can fight for equal pay, and now comes the bad part, regardless of your ability to participate in the process.
Huh.
To use their terminology, I find that statement problematic.
Yes.
Because that essentially means you don't have to do squash, and you should get paid. That's what that statement says. if you don't have the ability to participate in the process of game development, then you should not get paid at all.
Yes.
And by far not equally. That's just ridiculous. That's just dumbassery.
Yep, it is.
So then there was McCoy, who said, I have a lot of first-generation students and students of color. Why to say that twice? You have a lot of first-generation students and students of color. Aren't there students as well? And I would like them to get fair shots when they're looking for jobs. Other unions I have been part of, there have been people joining even before they got into the job itself. That I don't understand. How do you join a union if you don't have a job?
Yeah, really.
Luckily, there was somebody normal there. Mr. MacLean, who asked a very good question. So you are saying that unions are going to vet potential hires for game studios? That's exactly what they're saying. We are going to vet people before we allow them to join our union, essentially. And this is essentially my problem. They're not talking about what unions are there for. They're talking about completely different things. And if we are to live in a meritocracy, it doesn't matter whether you're black, green, yellow, or have a penis growing on your head. If you're good, you will get hired. That's the point of meritocracy. And having things like quotas and deciding that quote-unquote marginalized people should be hired first. No, that's not meritocracy. Simply put. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. What is your own personal opinion on unions in gaming? Like, in general, if they were used for their intended purpose.
Okay, yeah, for the intended purpose, yeah, I would say, especially like for like the bigger studios, like you were saying, I'll say yeah, that'd actually be a good thing for them to have, because you know, this industry has been going on for like 50 years, almost 50 years now, and see unions being formed in the industry, I think would be a good thing for the intended purpose. But for like the crap that they were spouting at GDC, no.
Yeah.
If you cannot develop games, go find another freaking job.
Yeah, especially that statement, the one that regardless of your aptitude to, what was it exactly? Regardless of your ability to participate in the process. That statement is, it's not problematic. It's fucked up in the head. There's no other way to state it. That part, you know, I guess unions could be helped to protect game developers, no matter whether they're marginalized or not. That's the point of unions, to protect the employees, to make sure they have a bargaining chip that is as strong as the employer has when it comes to bargaining.
Yep.
But I don't know. It just seems super weird for me.
Yeah.
And it was no surprise for me to see this on Polygon, by the way.
Yeah.
I was surprised I didn't hear about this at Kotaku. Okay, let's move on from this topic that is completely gone off the rails into the world of insanity.
Yep.
To something that is bad, but good. So there's a Fortnite streamer who is known as Ninja, who has been formerly a Halo pro player. so some of you might be aware of him. And he managed to do quite a feat. He managed to win a game of Fortnite while being swatted.
Wow.
So first of all, let's do the usual bit. Swatting is dumb. Don't do it. It's idiotic.
Yeah.
If you know of anybody who wants to do it, please contact the police so they can get punished.
Yep.
You know, did you ever see Shoe on Hat, a YouTube channel?
Nah.
So she's like one of these anti-justice warriors, and she was so tired of when everybody mentioned the pay gap, she actually bought a little tape recorder, created this whole speech, recorded it, so she wouldn't have to say it every single time, and anybody, you know, whenever anybody mentioned the pay gap, she would just slap the button and it would play automatically. I'm thinking of doing the same exact thing for swatting.
There you go.
So what happened? Essentially, there was a stream. It seemed like a pretty normal match, you know. And about halfway through the game, he left for a little bit, and he came back and won. Apparently, this was the third time this guy has been swatted.
Of course.
Yeah. You know, it's the big streamers. They get swatted the most. It's somewhat unavoidable, I guess, at this point. But I think the approach he and it was Dr. Disrespect like 2 weeks ago have taken, not being faced by it, is the only way to really combat it.
Yeah.
If you don't allow it to interfere with your personal or professional life, eventually the joke will stop being funny. Even though I don't think it was funny ever.
Yeah.
But
I'll say, the way I look at it though, if you're a big streamer and you haven't been swatted yet, it's like you know, it's like a rite of passage if you're a big streamer.
Well, only in America, because your country is dumb when it comes to the police.
Yep, I agree.
Like, what I don't understand is why the fuck don't you have longer training for police forces in America? Here you have to complete a high school degree, then go through psycho tests, physical tests, and complete additional months of training specifically through the laws to have a decent chance to get to the state police. It's easier to get what we call city police, but those aren't armed, and they have far less things they are allowed to do. Essentially, they are there to give out fines for people who are parking wrongly and who are speeding. And then we have the state police that is there for the really serious stuff, you know, like murders and stabbings and big crimes. But for the small things that are essentially just finable, we have the city police. It's just a bad translation. It's just what they're called. It would be probably called something different, but to get into that, it's fairly easy. Just go through a few months of training, but you don't have a fucking loaded gun on yourself.
Yep.
But, back to the topic. Props for Mr. Ninja for doing good things. Okay, let's move on to the Overwatch League. And do you remember, it was like a month ago, we talked about the fact that parts of the code of conduct for the Overwatch League were released.
Yeah, sure do.
But we didn't have the full picture, and that's why we criticized it, because everything seemed insanely vague. Now we have a bit more information, as one of the broadcasters, named Richard Lewis, apparently posted a full scan of a hard copy of the Overwatch League rulebook. So I'm I'm going to assume he's going to be punished somehow by Blizzard for doing it, but I'm really glad he did, because it was something the public needed to see. And in general, it's fine. It has about 35 pages, and there's things that are pretty obvious, you know, like that players cannot stream together because then it's essentially them playing as a team, and they can play as a team only during the league events. The fact that they can use all the video and footage that has been ever created during the Overwatch League. You know, things like these. Things that seem fairly obvious. But there are two things that are, I would call them morally dubious. Because I don't think they're illegal, but I'm not sure whether they're not that moral, and I want to know your opinion on them. So let's start with the first one, and that is the fact that they aren't allowed to endorse any other games that aren't from Activision Blizzard. What do you think of that? But do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But
shoot.
In all honesty, though, I would say just in this entire league, though, if I was a pro Overwatch player, I actually went out and touched this league with a 100-foot pole.
Okay, that's interesting.
I would stay far away from it.
Why?
Because, well, for one thing, me personally, too many rules for my taste.
Okay.
You know? And also not being allowed to recommend other games from other companies. It's bullcrap.
Yeah. I think as well. I understand Blizzard's reasoning behind it, and I think they will not punish anybody for recommending some stupid little indie puzzle platformer.
Yeah.
I think they're protecting themselves from saying go play Paladins, it's better than Overwatch. But the way it's worded is just weird. They aren't even allowed to state their opinions about games. It just seems weird.
Yeah, it does.
And the other one is, the Code of Conduct states a lot about the fact that Blizzard has every right to take down any stream or comment they wish if deemed appropriate.
That's another thing, too.
So this one, even though I'm sure it's written very carefully so it doesn't violate any law, I think it's right on the edge of being, at least in the United States, unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Because it seems like severely restricting their ability to do free speech.
Yeah.
And I do realize that free speech is mainly used to protect religious and political views. But what if one of them decides to come out as, let's say, a Klansman? I know that's a really extreme example, but let's say just one of them comes out and says, niggers are awful and they should be all killed. Oh, this is going to take it taken out of context, right? What I just said.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the record, I don't want black people to be killed.
Hey, if I I'll stop right now because I'm gonna easily just go back to this podcast, get random clips of you saying that, and it'll be out of context.
I'm sure, but I'm lucky. In my country, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah, you're lucky.
We actually, just to give you an example of how much nobody gives a fuck about this, there was a scandal because one of something like Walmart put a black person into their catalog, like things that are on sale. There was a scandal because they did that. So people really, we still value being Czech. And it's because our country exists only for about 25 years. It's 25 years actually this year, so we still value being Czech. And to say the least, the vast majority of people here in the Czech Republic are white.
Yeah.
The closest thing we got to black people are gypsies. And there's about 200,000 of them in the whole country. But what do you think about the fact that Blizzard says they can take down essentially anything that one of the Overwatch League players have said?
I think they're trying to, of course, they're trying to protect their own butts, but I still think no matter what someone says, it needs to stay up. You know, don't take it down because it's something bad or inappropriate. Just leave it up there.
And on top of that, this is the internet. Everything that's been put on the internet stays there forever. There's always one idiot making just collecting the data and putting it onto their hard drives. If it's a video, somebody downloaded it already.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that, like, when it comes to streams that are controversial, let's say Sargon of Akkad, I'm pretty sure the moment he goes live, there are 5 people recording it. And not because he asked them to do it, they just want to make sure nothing gets lost.
Yeah.
But otherwise, otherwise the code of conduct is decent. Just these 2 rules are somewhat weird. The only other interesting thing is that the Overwatch League players cannot partake in any drugs unless it is prescribed to them, except if that prescription is medical marijuana. Which I don't understand, as I would guess that if you're high, you're going to play worse.
Actually, you'll play better.
No. It slows down your reaction times. But
actually, my brother, he's at back when Fortnite first came out on Battle Royale mode. He was actually in one of the top, like on the top of the leaderboard for a while, and he smokes.
Oh yeah, that was okay. So, yeah, but you need to realize he's not the top of the top of the top.
Actually, he was at one point.
No, he really isn't. Whether you like it or not, these guys that are such a different level.
Well, I'm talking about before Fortnite became so popular.
Yeah, but this is about Overwatch League pro players that probably train like 12 hours a day to get that perfect shot, and reducing their reaction times by even 0.5 of a second will probably decrease their performance severely. And let's be honest, when you're high, you are slower. Well, that's it to the code of conduct, sort of, because we have one more piece of news about the Overwatch League. And this one is just bizarre. So, there's a team named LA Gladiators, and they have a coach who's named Pei. And he bumped into one of the opposing team's players during the match. No, not during the match, after the match. Just bumped into him. And because of the way the code of conduct is made, just to be sure, he issued an official apology for bumping into somebody, for fuck's sake. So let me read out the apology. Yesterday, during the Outlaws match, I inadvertently bumped into 2 of the Outlaws players. I hadn't been watching where I was going. I was distracting thinking about what to say to our team for King's Row, but I wanted to apologize immediately. I apologized to their players immediately after the game and Tyrone, who is the head coach of the opposing team, shortly after. I am sincerely sorry for my actions and I assure you that there was no malicious intent. Even though it was an accident, it was still unprofessional of me to shit bump players from another team, so again, I am sorry. Really?
Okay, now first off, my first question is, did he apologize to the two players right after he bumped into them, or did he wait until after the game to apologize?
So
completely.
Here it states he did it immediately after the game. So I think I think he probably like bumped into them, like, you know, he was probably like looking into a tablet, going over the game or something like that. And he bumped into somebody. That happens. It happened to me today like 2 times, I think. I was just doing stuff and I bumped into somebody. They were doing stuff as well. But
I'm gonna ask you this though. Unlike him, did you actually went ahead and apologize as soon as after you bumped into him, or did you wait a bit to apologize?
Here it seems he waited a little bit. But also the question is, you know, like in how much of a rush he was, because it was like in between matches. So they probably had just a few minutes to go over their strategy or something like that. I agree with you that he probably should be like, bump, oh, sorry, and just went off his way.
Yeah.
But, man. It just seems too much.
Yeah.
Way too much. What can you do?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next topic. As a few gaming companies, about 30 of them, including things like Blizzard, Riot, Twitch, CCP, or Epic, have created what they call the Fair Play Alliance, which aim is to cut down disruptive behavior in online games. And I will say this, it sounds like a good idea, but how the fuck do they plan to implement it is the big question.
Yeah.
So far we really don't have much information, but there are a few potential issues I can see just straight off the bat. So first off being the fact that what is considered inappropriate? Because something would be considered inappropriate here in Czech Republic and wouldn't be in America, but some things that would be considered inappropriate in America wouldn't be considered inappropriate here.
Yeah.
How do you decide? Who decides? And what is the punishment?
I'll say this. To me, it sounds like they're trying to suck all the fun out of multiplayer games.
Well, I think they have a point. A lot of, especially competitive video games, are insanely toxic. Like, it's just not fun to play them because of the community. And so far, the best solution I have ever seen is just people who are being toxic get put into their own queues where other people are toxic. So they get to play with other toxic people. And I really think that is the best solution by far, as it doesn't say you are banned, and it also doesn't say you cannot play in any sort of fashion, but you will play with other idiots. If you're going to be an idiot, you're going to play with idiots.
Yeah. Or also, instead of just having them in their own queues, one thing I like in Sea of Thieves, like if you got a crew member that's been toxic or a bad sport, you can actually throw him into the brig as punishment for being.
That's an interesting mechanic, but that can work only in a few specific games.
Yeah.
Like how would that work in Overwatch or in any MOBA? You would be one player short.
I would say for like a MOBA, have that person locked to one of the worst playable characters in the game.
No, that reduces the effectiveness of your team.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's not punishing him. That's punishing the whole team.
Yeah, true.
You need to find a solution that punishes only him.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. It's not easy to come up with a solution that doesn't limit his ability to play while making him suffer. Because that is the point of punishments, to make people suffer so they don't repeat that bad behavior anymore. Actually, I forgot to include this, even though now I think of it's pretty obvious. Overwatch added a feature that allows you to ban people from playing with you this week.
Huh.
And
well, there you go. That's a good solution.
Yeah, but I think that feature needs to have sort of a soft reset, let's say every season. Because hopefully the point of these punishments is to teach the people to be better people. But if you keep them stuck in that shitty environment forever, they don't have any incentive to get better.
Yeah.
It's
or
like
continue playing.
Yeah, it's like, imagine if you were set into prison for stealing something, and they would just say, "We will never let you out." Would that teach you not to steal? Or would you steal in prison as well? If you knew you had no chance of ever stealing and ever going back to the real world again.
Possibly I would steal stuff and try and find a way out.
Well, yeah, the way out is to create a new character and start from scratch.
Yeah.
But that's not always an option. Well, either way, let's move on to the news that is about economics. Everybody's favorite topic in the world.
Nope.
So, the top 100 games on Steam made 50% of the total money in 2017. This is based off stats by Steam Spy, where from the 7,696 games released in 2017, only 0.5% earned half of the total cash. And I don't think this will be a surprise to anybody who knows anything about economics. It's just the way it works.
Yep.
I think the more interesting thing to go over is the list of the games that have actually made the most. On Steam, obviously. So, can you guess the number one? It's not hard.
I'll say PUBG.
Yes. But can you guess how many more times money has it made compared to number two? I will tell you number two. Number two is Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which has made $120 million. Now, guess how much money has PUBG made?
I would say around 360 million.
600 million. It's literally 5 times more money than number two. And again, this only shows you the more money you have, the more money you're capable of making, and the more successful you are, the more successful you will get.
Yeah.
The few interesting games on the list, in my opinion, is number 8, which is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I wouldn't suspect it being so high after such a long time on the market.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, it is. It has made 38 million.
Dang.
Yeah, that's a good number. Another somewhat surprising is For Honor at number 14. I really thought it was actually a flop, but it seems it wasn't. And then the 3 games that are 20, 19, and number 18 respectively. So, number 20, this one isn't that big of a surprise. It's Cuphead.
Yeah.
With $22 million in revenue. Then there's number 19, which is a game I still don't understand why people enjoy. That is Football Manager 2018. Which has made 23 million. And number 18 is Rocket League. With 23 million as well. And Rocket League has been on the market for a long time by now. And it just shows how well the game fit with what the community wanted of a sports game for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm very proud of Rocket League. Still playing it to this day. I've actually been playing a little bit today. I already have 913 hours of Rocket League played in my.
Dang.
It's insane. It's too much, I know. How much is it in days? 913 divided by 24. That's 38 days of pure time. That's a month of my life. And I'll never see again. It's always fun to do these numbers.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this. Did it feel like you wasted time doing it?
Not really. I'm either having fun or I'm totally pissed.
Yeah, there you go.
Depending on my playmates. But I've gotten better, and I'm actually fairly decent, I guess. I'm not great, obviously. I'm right at the edge of Diamond, which is like it's not the best. I have a friend who always keeps inviting me to play with him, but he's like right under getting into the Grandmasters. And I'm always like, man, I'm just going to screw it up for you. It's like, I don't care about the ranks. Like, okay. And he's like carrying me whenever we play together. But the problem is because, you know, our MMRs get averaged out. The people we're playing with are worse than him, but better than I. And by a significant margin. So unless I have a good day, I cannot do much in those matches. The people just do insane things with the ball. And I've actually gotten pretty decent at flying recently. But they are like, they fly and, you know, in the beginning of Rocket League, there were these cool videos of people just essentially having the ball stuck to their car and just driving it around. And you were like, oh, how are they doing that? These people are doing it while flying.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, fuck you, man. I can't do that. It's almost like, alrighty then. I guess I'm gonna lose. But yeah, I'm really glad Rocket League is there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Warframe. And some of you guys might not know, but there is a Warframe documentary that has recently came out. It was created by the NoClip YouTube series run by Daniel O'Dwyer. And it's just a documentary about how Warframe was developed and about all the interesting things that ever happened during the game's lifetime. And one of the, I think, most interesting stories is when one of the devs is talking about how they created essentially loot boxes. And they sort of created by them by accident. So what they created was they created in-game pets. Because those are always cool. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And what they did, they had a random thing that would decide what color will your pet be. And you could pay about 60 cents for a reroll on those colors. And since there was a fur pattern and fur color, etc., etc., it was essentially a loot box. But
yeah.
Carter defines it even better. That is the developer. He defined it as a slot machine lever. And yeah, that's what loot boxes are. They're slot machines.
Yep.
And, you know, they put it out live, and within hours, one of their players spent like $150 on it. Like,
wow.
And you know what they said? Oh shit, we created a slot machine and removed it.
Good on them.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's why I love Warframe and Digital Extreme, because they actually know how to do microtransactions right.
Yeah. So, first of all, I highly recommend you just go watch the full documentary on it. It's actually pretty interesting, even if you're not into documentaries yourself. It's still an interesting watch if you're into gaming in any sort of way. And
also,
go play Warframe.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Go and play it. It's free to play. It don't cost you anything to start, so go and play it. So if you're able to support the developers, because they actually do a freaking good job with what they do.
And as you can clearly see, they actually have some fucking morals.
Yeah.
And that's sadly not such a common sight anymore these days.
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to the last two pieces of gaming news this week. They're both about mobile gaming. First, we're going to talk about Fortnite iOS version. So, some of you might not know, but Fortnite is currently available on iOS, but only as if you get invited. But despite that, the game has already made over $1.5 million in the first 4 days. To be clear, this is not the highest number ever made by a mobile game in such a short period. But usually those games just went out and were available to everybody. To give you an example, Pokemon Go made about 4.5 million and Clash Royale made about 4 million in the first 4 days. So obviously, but what should also be taken into account, probably the people who are getting invites are the people who would be spending the most money either way.
Yeah.
There will be the people who are known as whales in games and in cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Yep.
But this is pretty impressive. And I'm surprised nobody has done that before. Just, you know, we have this game and we'll work on mobile. Let's just shove it onto mobile as well. And the second piece of mobile news, and I don't think this will surprise anybody, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is now available for iOS and Android. And it sucks balls because it's a mobile game. Don't play it. Play it on your PC. Play it on your Xbox. But why the fuck would you choose to play it on your phone? The screen is tiny, the controls are horrible, and apparently it's full of bots. Yeah, but if you want to, you can play it. I'm not stopping you.
If you're your own person, so go for it if you want to play it.
Yeah.
It's free, so
yeah, at least that's there. It's free. If it was $40, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's it for the news from me. Do you have anything you would like to add?
No, you pretty much got all the big stuff that happened this past week, so.
Okay, then I guess it's time for gaming recommendations. I actually have four games to recommend this week. Two of them I already mentioned.
Okay.
What about you? How many games do you have to recommend?
Two.
Two. I'm going to assume we can start with the big one for next week. That is from us both.
Yeah.
That is Far Cry
Warcraft
5.
Yep.
It's a AAA title. It's gonna be at least decent, but it's the 5th iteration and I don't give a shit about it anymore.
Actually, it's actually the 11th.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Whenever a game has number 5 in its title, I'm just not gonna play it anymore. And I actually really enjoyed playing the original Far Cry. It was super good. I remember I specifically bought a new GPU to play that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I first played Far Cry 2, but I really didn't get into it. But Far Cry 3 is what got me into the series, so...
Yeah, I remember I was like, how old I was. I wasn't in high school yet. Man, so it's been a pretty long time ago. But I remember buying a NVIDIA GT 6600 GT with like all my allowance put it together for like 6 months, and my parents paid additionally to that. That was what I needed to buy it, the graphics card. And I bought it to play Far Cry. And it wasn't new at that point either.
Yeah.
But the graphics card actually, it's still in the computer my mother is using.
Oh, wow.
I had to change... No, I didn't have to. I changed the fan on it. I remember doing that. And I overclocked it to hell. I even did a Volt mod on it. Do you know what a Volt mod is? It's not.
I guess some.
I literally had to solder on the board.
Wow.
So those were the good old times when I was still like messing with my computer. Nowadays it's just sitting there. It's full of dust. It is overclocked a little, but it's just like, yeah, this is something I know I can get out of it for 100%. But I remember I spent like 3 weeks like trying to get the 1 single megahertz out of that GPU because it was the best. I was a dumb kid, I know. Okay, the second game I got to recommend is an oldie but a goodie. It's Neverwinter Nights Enhanced Edition, which is coming out on the 27th. If you don't know what Neverwinter Nights is, then you probably never also played Dungeons and Dragons. It's based on the Dungeons and Dragons universe. There are dice rolls. It's an old school RPG. Has better graphics, a few new features, tons and tons of gameplay, and if you like the old school RPG genre, you should definitely get it. It's like Baldur's Gate, essentially. So what is the second game you got to recommend?
I'd like to recommend Days Long Gone, military-esque RPG, which sounds pretty interesting. But unfortunately for me, it's only coming to PC, so I won't pick it up unless they ever port to a console or get my own PC. So
yeah, as far as I know, it looks decent. What is not so pretty for me are the anime graphics. I just don't like fucking anime. Keep your anime away from me, you heretic!
The way I look at it, don't judge a game by its graphics. If it plays good, give it a shot.
You know what? I used to be like that as well. In the end, it's not true. If the game looks either shitty or just doesn't fit your taste, you will not enjoy it either way. Because you will always be thinking that they're, like, oh man, I wish this looked normal. It's a good game, but I wish it looked normal. It will just be always eating at the back of your head, saying to you, "Why are you playing this anime shit?" I got 2 more games to recommend. One of them is Evil Cogs. Again, it's coming out on the 28th March. It's a little indie platformer slash adventure game slash Flappy Bird clone. It's decent. I don't know the price, but if it's under $5, I recommend it. And the other one is The Flood, which I just totally recommend because it is free. It's coming out on the 30th. It's not that much of a game. It's insanely short. It's more of a painting than anything else, but it is highly enjoyable. Okay, you got anything else to endorse?
No, I do not. How about you?
No, not really. So I guess it's time to slowly bring the podcast to an end. Start with chilling. You can start if you want to.
Yeah, alright. You can find me on YouTube as Tygergamer. You can find me on Steam at Tygergamer.
And you can find me at Kralizec Gaming on YouTube and as Kralizec on Steam. We both hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please consider giving us a thumbs up here on YouTube and subscribing to the channel. Be sure to leave a comment whether you're watching on Steam or on YouTube. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for more gaming news, because the Gaming News series returns tomorrow. See you guys later with more gaming content.
Yeah, we good.